Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dice Cult for episode 125 of On the Backs of Gods. I'm your DM, Jillian, and we have all of our players here today. Same as always, we have Kyle, Matt, Katie, Josh, and Greg. Um, I think I'll go ahead and just give a quick little recap, and we can jump into things. Last time, you all arrived in Jarlsbecker, the capital, where you are going to be you've decided you are attending a lavished party for the rich elite, the powerful, the usually morally ambiguous and or very overtly not morally sound. Uh, and only one of you currently has an invite, but you've all went ahead and most of you have acquired outfits without tickets in tow, but that's for later you to worry about. You went to stores around town following Russ, who gave you the tour. Um, During this time, you guys got to go to a nice little tavern where all of you got pretty shit faced. And maybe there was a bullied conversation between Nix and Russ about how Russ really does want to go with Nix to this event and would be devastated if they did not go together. And that they're going to start from the top, and he re-invites her much more directly. And the relationship, whatever it is currently, is still weird, but they're going on a date. So they have a date planned. And also from a bit of probably miscommunication, unclear, but Roshan told Nix that he wouldn't be her friend until she kissed Russ. And telling Russ this, he closed his eyes and let her give him just a little kiss so that they could be friends again. Um, During this time, Russ also hyped up Fen, telling the story of how he defeated the worm, jumped into the worm to save Russ, even though Russ saw none of the combat whatsoever and saved Fen from the worm. But that's not the story he told. And after a drink always being in Fen's hand, he exposed him on his lying, and Fen threw a kukri at him, hoping that his friend would catch it and then throw it back into his sheath. Lucky Dice said, "That's a go," and and it was a cool moment of catching a kukri and throwing it right back into the sheath. Everybody has a blast. Everybody has a hangover the next day. Outfits and accoutrement in tow. For some, there's still time. And you make your way around town. You also go to a little herb shop where you hear that maybe some cultists are buying medicine, where you encounter a teenager who doesn't give a shit about why you're there or what you're doing. And it is currently a fruitless endeavor, besides some people acquiring some nice oils. But when you got there, at least not visibly, you could not see a ledger. Doesn't mean there isn't one, but it wasn't on the desk casually. Um, After that, Nyx sticks good to her word and says, "I'm going to get everybody to this stupid library, even though nobody believes me, in less than a day." And turns everybody into a magical wind that takes off into the air, can only be wind and go fast. Nobody knows where they're going, but they storm ahead, flying through the sky as incorporeal mist, with some lucky lookabouts. You, after not very long in the air at all, you land in front of a beautiful cobblestone pathway after you all vomit when you go back into your corporeal forms because you were just fucking whiplashed through the air for a couple hours. But you land, you follow the pathway into this beautiful courtyard where you see a white marble building with a woman carved out of, into, out of the stone. Immaculate braid and simple dress, hand outwards holding a quill, and you can see against the wall of this building are tiny symmetrical runes in perfect lines going around at least the side of the building you are on. And also, in the center of the courtyard, a stone with etchings on it that says all the rules of the library. I think it's only fair for the people. Altercations of any kind will lead to a life ban from the library. Magic use of any kind will lead to a life ban from the library. Disrespect of any kind to the keepers of the tomes or other patrons will lead to a life ban from the library. Damage to library property will lead to a life ban from the library. Attempts at theft will lead to a life ban from the library. All of you currently stand in front of a beautiful solid wooden door and are in the middle of this courtyard, either dampened or heightened by winter, depending on your aesthetic preference. But currently it is the sound of nature around you, wind through the trees, nearby animals. What are you guys doing as you stand in this courtyard? Perfect. Take in the moment. Everyone tenses.
A lot. Nana is just running through every single thing that she was planning to do to help her friends research well in the library, and now it occurs to her all of that's magic.
Well, this seems quite impressive. Roshan, you're the scholar amongst us. What do you think we should do?
I'm glad to take your lead here.
What do I think we should do? Period?
How should we divide up what we want to find out, I suppose? I mean...
I'm not even ready to ask questions about that. What are we going to do with our magical things? We need to find somebody who works here and ask if they've got
Maybe
storage
we should
lockers.
leave them in a bush.
Right, cubbies somewhere, surely. I mean, there's adventurers probably come here from all over, and we can't be the only ones with magical things on us, right? Surely.
Oh gosh.
Where
Is
does
there
the
anyone walking
magical
around?
prohibition begin?
It sounds like
know.
Inside.
Probably. I mean, surely there's... Are there any
We
guards
immediately
visible
ejected.
or any people visible outside of the passage through which we must pass? Is there anybody we can get the attention of and ask about this?
You don't see anyone outside, and there's a solid wooden door. So
Okay, well, all right.
Roshan will go knock. That's kind and courteous and
I
civil.
think that's courteous, yes.
You go to a public
Not the
library
spell.
and knock on the door.
Yeah.
There is a pause. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. 30 seconds.
Maybe we should just go in.
A minute.
Yeah, I think we should just go in.
The door opens slightly.
Oh! Never mind. I guess.
A woman has pulled the door open, like, just to, like, peek out. Kind of, I wouldn't say hesitant, but it does not seem like a thing she does often. Pulls the door open. You can see that she's wearing a white dress and cloak. It is clean. It is, the word that would come to mind is immaculate. Not a wrinkle or stitch out of place. She has a matching head covering, a long veil that covers all of her hair and drapes onto her shoulders, which is affixed around the forehead by a simple metal headdress of soapwort flowers. You can see that a second drape hangs over her eyes, connected to the metal headpiece as well. She is only slightly darker in complexion than the outfit she wears. Incredibly pale, and it almost sort of blends into each other. She kind of leans forward. You can't see her eyes. Completely obscured, and she kind of like leans.
Okay.
Yes?
Hello, we're a group of travelers hoping to use the services of the library, and we're wondering if there was a space we could put our magical things so that they wouldn't tempt us and get us kicked out of the library.
You don't think you can control yourself?
I don't think that some of these things are possible to not use them while they're on our person.
You may unattune from them. But if you feel you cannot control your own impulses, I would be happy to hold them at the front desk.
We'll happily take you up on that offer. Roshan answers for the group.
Understand this. You're about to enter a small room. Once you leave that room, any choices you make will affect you greatly. She closes the door.
Very much appreciated.
Can we... I think Roshan will take out the bag of holding and start emptying himself of magical items. His rapier and the lantern, and he takes the hat from Nana and the rod from Fen.
Yeah.
And he takes a rock out of his pocket.
Nana kind of like tilts her head a little bit at that.
It was a rock we bought from the group on the road. And he kind of just holds the bag open for anyone else.
The portable
who wants to
resilient
put things into
sphere goes in.
Yeah.
I guess the good berries?
Yeah, Fen will put his bow in, and he'll tie the bag of tricks to the outside of the bag of holding.
I mean, I'm certainly not planning to make use of my weapons or anything in here. So.
Nana, maybe you want to change?
Oh, right. The leather armor. Yeah, best not get any ideas. Nana will kind of doff the leather armor and just kind of go in her normal clothes underneath.
Keld and Nyx, I'm not telling you you should, but if you would like to.
I guess.
Sounds like we should.
I mean, once any of us chooses to leave, I'm sure they'd allow us to pick our things back up. So.
They better, or we'll have to get kicked out of the library to get them back.
That's very true, and what I would very much like to come back later, when things aren't quite so pressing. Goodness, there's a lot I'd love to look at, but we've got more pressing engagements, so I suppose time is of the essence, no?
Yes. I think he holds it open for Keld to put the extra shiny armor in.
We can help him get that off. I'm sure it's probably one of those where it like takes a long
I
time
don't
if you do it by
think
yourself.
he's wearing
No?
it, but you can
No?
you can take it out of his bag or put it in the bag of
Oh.
holding. It's whatever.
I don't
I'd
think
like
he's
to
worn
think
it
I
since he's
would
got
have
it.
not worn
Nope.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that was just a normal daily thing you put on, but
Nope.
I was wearing my basic chainmail.
Yeah.
Oh.
Same AC basically.
I see.
One of them's just shinier.
One of them is beautiful, which is why I thought you would wear it.
No.
And I suppose once we've got all of those gathered, as much as we feel comfortable with anyway, we open the door ourselves and walk in.
Okay, here's my question. Is anybody currently attuned to a magic item that directly affects their stats?
I put them all in the bag, so I'm good.
Yeah, I put all
Okay.
of mine in the bag.
So nobody has any attunements currently.
Currently, no.
I don't have
attunements.
anything that offers attunement.
I'm assuming that would be my guardian emblem, which I've put in the bag.
Mm-hmm. Okie dokie. You walk into a small entry room
We have passed
where
the first trial.
you've
feels
stepped
like-
through the doorway.
Solved your door puzzle.
Take
This
that,
was
Jillian.
not a puzzle, just a casual ask to not use magic.
Sounds like a
We've
puzzle.
solved your social puzzle.
Good job, everybody. You're officially one step into the library as you notice that
Fantastic.
runes along the entryway illuminate as each of you passes, doing like a gentle kind of pulse as each one of you walks into the room. You can see that woman you spoke to sits on a raised metal desk about 15 feet up. You can see the front of this desk is embossed with a large quill above an inkwell. She sort of looks over your group as you enter. You understand the rules?
Yes, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
There will be no sorries or do-overs. And she extends her hand downwards, which only clears about another foot of this 15-foot desk towards the bag of holding you guys are just holding in front of you.
Roshan will hand it to her.
There's a moment of like, and then you kind of go around on the side and are able to kind of go up a couple steps to greet her. After you realize you cannot reach 14 feet. But, ma'am.
Roshan will mage hand it across.
Yeah, mage hand
Yeah.
immediately yeeted from the library. There was
don't
the
think
first
he
puzzle.
Didn't think to do that. That's just natural to him. This place sucks. I hate your library, Jillian.
Good. The library equally hates you.
Ooh, we just wanted to learn.
Hey, then don't do magic or get in fights. You know, those are basically the only rules.
That's the only way
This
I
is fine.
learn.
She takes the bag of holding and, like, Roshan, as you're there, you see she kind of takes it and just sets it down next to her. They don't have a place
Love
to
it.
store this. She just puts it next to her on the ground, on top of this 15-foot high desk. There is a similar wooden door on the opposite end of this this small entry room, and she looks to you, and then motions to the door, and then seems to go back to her business, which seems to be a pile of books around the top edge of the desk.
Can I, just passive insight? Does she doesn't want to know our names and doesn't want to give us hers?
She didn't ask, nor give.
Great. We're Roshan's just walking forward
All right,
and to the door.
all right.
We are but patrons of the library.
Okay. You open the door and walk into the next space, which is a large, sort of cavernous room with, you can hear like gentle echoes of your feet as you walk inside. Clean marble floors and pillars. You can see that there's etchings on these pillars depicting little puffins running around the base. The space seems to be illuminated by at me in the chat, seemingly magical sun-hued lights glowing from wall sconces. You don't see any candles or lanterns in this place. There seems to be no literal fire in here. You can see that there are sturdy marble bookshelves filling the space, a variety of books of all sizes, scrolls, paper, leather, stone. There's also an array of heavy wooden tables and chairs, and a few of them are set up with these like little little devices, little metal stands that have a tiny piece of glass attached to the end. Looks to help with magnifying tiny, teeny, tiny words to help you on your learning travels. What you don't really see a lot of is comfortable spaces. There is the occasional couch or chair, but they are sparse and they don't look to be like, ooh, I could snuggle up with a book on this and have a good time. No, solid back. Like it's not the most pleasant sitting arrangement. You can also
this is
hear.
Not your cozy library that you watch on your
100% not.
Study
There's
beats.
there is nothing comforting
This
about
is
this
a
place
public
except
library.
for maybe just the gentle glow of the light, which is kind of at a gentle dim lighting, keeping the space illuminated but not like incredibly bright like a fluorescent or incredibly dark like a place without fire might be. But you can also hear the soft echo of another patrons. It's hard to tell because of the sound bouncing around the place. You can hear the sound of flipping pages and the scrape of quill on paper, but you don't see anybody from your current perspective. This is a large building, and these big, giant pillars and bookshelves do kind of block a lot of views. You can also see that in these large pillars are these blue-toned lights that sort of warble across and around the sides of the pillar, almost like the reflection of water, slowly moving. A gentle vibration to them, a gentle movement. Yeah.
Neither have I.
What would you guys
Who's
like to
with it
do?
come? Okay.
So we've walked beyond the lady at the front desk.
Mm-hmm.
Are there sections clearly labeled in any way?
You can go ahead and give me a perception check.
Do you want a help action?
It is too late.
Very
It's
well.
a 16.
Probably fine.
The labeling is numbers.
Oh,
Great.
There's not
Instead
just
of
like a
index.
corruption section
Okay,
and a.
well, surely, if there's numbers for the shelves, then that means there's some sort of guide that indicates what the numbers mean, right? That's just what codes are.
There must be. Roshan is already frustrated and feeling like less smart by just being here.
That's a mood.
Is going to try and find are there anyone else in these nice pristine white uniforms that looks maybe more
Besides the
helpful
one
than front
lady.
door lady?
It's just her vibing at the front. You make your way a bit further into the library, and you don't go far. You go past like your first bookshelf, and she's kind of like almost jump scare around the corner, but she's just putting up books. And she like turns to look at you with that veil over her eyes, and then slowly tries to go back to what she was doing. Like,
Oh no. This is not supposed to be a customer service position.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to disturb you, but could you point us toward a reference section somewhere we might be able to figure out the system of numbering in here?
of course. And holds the book in her hand for a moment, and then gently places it down on the cart and begins to walk ahead of you.
What book is it? Is there a title on it?
Just curious.
You speak Goblin?
I don't.
Can't read this.
Probably wouldn't even recognize the script.
No, you're like, interesting. As you walk by. There had to at least be one sweet book in Goblin. But you all make
There
your way
had to have
following
been like
this
the
woman.
Goblin Shakespeare at some point. Of
I'm
course.
still in our day, I'm making a note. Everyone shut up for half a second. Everyone shut up. Goblin Shakespeare. Nobody speak to me for a moment longer.
You've probably heard of him just under another name.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Is it Marlowe? But Marlowe, Francis Bacon.
Who said
Bacon,
Goblin
of
Shakespeare?
course! What
Who
else would a
said-
goblin name themselves?
Who said Goblin Shakespeare at me?
I did.
Inspiration.
Oh, bless you, Jillian. Thank you.
I'm gonna take it. It's yours. I just now have Goblin Shakespeare written on my notebook, and that's all I care about.
You're welcome.
You guys do what you want in this library. I'm good forever. I'm content.
Don't give us
I have
that
been
much power.
appeased. You follow this woman, and you do see more women in this attire who seem to be tending to the books or looking over books or taking care of the space in general. Every time you walk by one of these large pillars, they all have that warbling sort of blue light that moves around them like the water reflection. And you realize, everybody besides Keld, that as you walk by them, the light sort of kind of follows a bit. Like it's keeping eyes on you.
Ooh, interesting.
So it's kind
Does
of like
it
on
form like eye shapes, or just
Nope.
does it kind of like?
it just looks like warbling water.
Warm, kind of like
Yeah.
focuses on you a little bit.
It doesn't seem focused, but you realize that it's on this side of the pillar because you were. And it follows you to the other side of the pillar.
Oh, it's a motion detector.
So it follows you this way, and the woman walks past a few of her colleagues who they kind of nod and acknowledge each other, and she presents you to a large, terrible-looking tome. So you guys are able to find categories and look for books that is available to you.
Lovely. Roshan would like to look up where C for corruption is.
Where is C?
Whatever the common rune is.
Hey, I think I'll do you one better or worse. Unclear.
Oh boy.
Lovely.
Okay.
I want to know what you're looking for. I'm not going to send you casually to like large sections. I want to know what you want from the sections. Or what you are looking for in this library, because it could be in a completely different section, in my humble opinion, but the pages of numbers will tell you.
So Roshan's first question has to deal with corruption by the way of shoulder ice. But he was also hoping or thinking perhaps while he's in that section that if there is any connection to Nana's flowers, that he would look into that, as well as into his own tattoos, so into the knot-based corruption.
Which topic are you looking for first?
Shoulder ice.
Okay. Is anybody else doing anything else?
Kelda's interested in this in particular.
The corruption thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that makes sense. I think Nana is looking into whatever might indicate a place that could be named the Wise One's Parapet. You know, maybe it's a local colloquial name. Maybe it's a reference to a place in a long-gone myth that never gets referenced again, but it's still about some thing that we can still find. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll go so far as to say that Fen is specifically going to ask this woman about that.
She starts walking and then stops.
Specifically, do you know what the Wise One's parapet is? And like,
No, it's a good thing you're in a library. And there is a little curl of a smile with that. And she starts kind of the gentle click of her shoes as she walks. Okay.
I get the feeling that they don't tend towards customer service at this. establishment.
I
Alright,
don't know
fine,
what you're
come on,
talking
let's-
about. Everyone's been completely civil.
That sounds a little rude. Sounds like we're leaning into rude territory, Roshan.
That's not rude. He's telling her not to be rude by saying that they've all been civil.
They have
Yes,
been.
Oh,
yes, I'm perfectly happy to be civil. I'm perfectly happy.
Everyone's sweating. Everyone starts sweating immediately.
No one wants
Um,
to be uncivil in the library.
As you are all kind of standing and starting to get like your thoughts together about what you're doing, you assume different woman. It's kind of hard to tell. Approaches you, Nyx, and hands you a towel.
Oh, great. Put it around her hair.
If you are able to avoid touching the books, or if you need assistance on hands-free reading, we can provide.
How would I do that?
One moment. She walks off. She comes back a moment later with this this terrible metal device that she like kind of unfolds. It's sort of just like a tiny little stand for your book to be placed upon, and then there's a little wand of sorts with a point, and she's like, "You put your book here. You can flip the pages with this."
How do I grab the book to put it there?
It's a good thing you're here with friends, isn't it? And she places the things atop the table.
Got it.
And hands you a second towel now that she has come back over again.
Yep.
We'll try to bring these periodically. And, and starts to leave again.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have two people with specific topics. Are people looking for different topics or assisting somehow? Ice and parapet are where we are currently.
The ice and the parapet seem like really urgent
Yeah.
things. Nana is happy to assist.
Nana, you're the one researching the
Fen.
parapet.
Oh, I'm researching.
You said you were.
Yes, I did. I was
I feel like
wondering
Fen
maybe
could help with that.
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah,
I mean,
Fen
you
is
two
definitely
don't
helping.
know about the ice, so.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Very true.
Nana has no clue. She only knows of her own heartworms, and that's probably benign. It's fine.
Yeah, Fen's gonna definitely help with the parapet business.
Okay.
Whose cat is so sad?
That's Wanda.
Yeah.
Oh, Wanda, come on, hold it together, hun.
She won't. She's bad. She's needy. She wants to play.
Of course she does.
I
While
won't.
we're playing. No.
Actually, oh, she's coming your way.
Oh no. It just follows the sound from Jillian's microphone to Greg's microphone.
She's just gonna sit at the end of the hallway and scream at you now, but that's okay. So we have Fen assisting on the Wise One's parapet. Anyone else on anything else? There's not going to be more than one advantage, So.
No. If you want to do the ice, I could pick a random topic and ask someone to hand me a book.
You could look for the Baldican.
Sure,
That's a
I'll
good
go for
idea.
that. And when I
what
find
was
something
the other
else,
name for it?
the canopy or the ball.
Yes.
Baldican.
And once I find a book, I'll get one of you to grab it for me.
Perfect.
God.
I'm sure any one of us will probably be available to help with that at some point or another.
Okay, so Roshan and Keld are currently going off to look for things about Nyx's condition. Nana and Fen are going to locate the Wise One's parapet. Nyx, who has never been in a library in her life, is going to go look for information on the Baldican.
You got this.
No boy.
With my minus one,
believe
this
in
is
you.
good, everyone.
Well, if you want some assistance, all you have to do is
You've
ask.
got your little wand and your
Well,
little stand.
Currently, nobody can assist. You're doing your own things. But maybe later, Depends how
later.
long it takes. All right. She's just so devastated. Jillian, why can't they use magic? It only seems fair to let them use magic. Bad DM, boo.
Bad DM screams.
Oh, there she
ready.
goes. She's going down the hall. She's coming your
Oh,
way.
there she goes.
I hope she comes through the door so everybody can see this
That would be
bratty little
funny.
baby.
You should call her Greg. Call her out.
All right. So Roshan, Keld, Curse, Nana and Fen, Parapet, Nyx, Baldekin. She doesn't even know where to start, doesn't know what it is
Nope.
in relation to, is going to go on probably maybe the hardest hunt at this library, and she's off. Okay, I need, and I'm going to be very straightforward here. Failing is a difficult thing to do here, in my opinion. It's time that things will affect. Anywho, I need investigation checks from Roshan, Nana, and Nyx. Roshan and Nana have advantage.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
It's an 8.
Perfect.
Oh, buddy.
16.
Okay.
A dirty 20.
Nana, pretending she understands how libraries work, confidently walks into
Pretending
the
very
place.
hard. That's all she knows how to do.
You all picked very difficult topics. Like, these are probably some of the hardest
Oh
topics
boy.
on your list.
Oh good.
Are the things that you have like no idea about, that you have no basis for, which would be the shoulder, the parapet, and the baldaquin. So you're going off of maybe it's in this section, maybe it's not. As you begin to make your way around, Nyx, you can see that one of the women has started to linger close by, and occasionally will come by and like clean water off the floor. They seem to want that to be to not be happening, but are happy to help in a quiet, sort of unsettling way.
Cool.
But that's fine. Nyx, I'm not going to talk to you for a while. I hope that's all right. I'm going to talk to you for a hot minute. Nyx, it's kind of like just wandering. What's a baldaquin? Here, I'll ask this question. Where do you think Nyx would start if she had any idea where a section was?
Nature stuff. She's
Great.
looking for like trees and things. She's like, maybe it's
Canopy,
a nice
yeah.
canopy.
Yeah, you go to nature. So it's sort of like everybody just kind of goes like
Yep. Yeah.
this way and Nyx goes that way.
All right. Yep.
How about we start with... We'll do a little jumping around. I'm going to start with Nana and Fen, who begin their walk about the library, kind of consulting back to the numbers and then going back and going to sections and start walking around, pulling down books. That doesn't make any sense. Flipping through books. No, this is a picture book for children. Interesting.
Easily accessible, but I doubt it has what we're looking for.
There is, what you all notice, maybe Nyx does, is that the books vary incredibly on age and style and type. When you kind of open a book and look through it, the ink seems to, or whatever they use to write in this book, or stamp. Sometimes the handwritings change. Some text looks older than other text. Some of it looks incredibly new. These books are updated when necessary. So giving new information when they can, which may be the job of the the people currently present. Nana and Fen, as you make your way around, you also see a statue. The same woman from the outside, sitting on a chair, head tilted softly to the side, book low in her hands as she looks at it, quill up in sort of a pondering stance as she looks at the pages. You recognize her to be the same woman, and there seems to be more of a prayer aspect to this one. It is in sort of a slight cubby, an inset of the wall where it sits. And
Sort
you
of
can
like a
see
shrine?
a bit of a shrine, yeah. And you can see that there are some tomes stacked around it, particularly old-looking tomes that you think if you touched them, they could just fall apart. And it just seems to be a spot where one could speak to Snowtra. As she stares into the pages of this stone book before her, that catches your eye as you make your way around. Meanwhile, Nyx wanders by and then just keeps going. A moment later, pursued by that same woman. Roshan and Keld, you make your way around, first heading towards the area that you think may align with corruption, where you might find information in that vein, and begin to make your way that way. When you enter the section, you can see at one of the large wooden tables is one of or the other patron that you heard. The echoes of the flipping of pages and the scratching of quill. A woman in her 40s-ish, give or take, surrounded by books. High stacks on every side, on the table, on the floors, just surrounded by books and scrolls and papers. Kind of almost in a hazard type way. Like, it looks like it could be dangerous over time. You can see that she is currently going through a large tome as she glances at a smaller book next to her. She has black hair tied back in a braid that seems a bit frazzled by time and neglect, only assuming that she's been here for a hot minute. She wears a red and black dress with a high collar that enhances her sharp jawline. Keld, you don't recognize this person, Roshan. This is Dagwood.
Oh, awkward.
She doesn't look up. You enter this section, you're in line with each other. She doesn't look up.
I think Roshan would walk over to her and stand uncomfortably close, and then if she still doesn't look up, ask, "What is it you're reading?"
As you approach to get close, she does close the book she is reading currently. Eyes still downwards, closes the book. Give me your perception check real quick.
Everybody be civil. Everybody be civil.
12.
Oh.
It's only fair. It's only fair. It's only fair. 1 second. It's only fair.
Is it?
It's only fair. It's only fair. 1 moment. It's only fair. It's only fair to you guys that I get the exact number on this. What did you say, 12?
Yeah.
Neat. You can see that she has some folio of sorts and has pushed it under the large book as you have approached. And just lined it up, and it is currently now resting beneath the book. Just because we are in person, it doesn't mean I'm interested in talking.
Then Roshan will turn and walk to the books.
Dagwood watches you walk by, looks at Keld.
Keld sort of nods.
She looks at you for a moment. Right. And then kind of waits for you to start, like, turning, and then the loud thump as she opens this book back up. here we go. Roshan, a bit uncomfortable as the area you are going to be inhabiting for an extended period of time to find the book you are looking for will be indirect eyesight of Dagwood for most of it, as you and Keld make your way over. Her eyes, her eyes don't stray. She's focused on what she's doing, and you could tell. You don't know how long she's been here, but the wisps of hair that have left her braid and the bags under her eyes, she has been working a long while. She does not look her healthiest. And yet, pushes on. You make your way and begin to dig through books. Keld, hey, welcome to a library. Keld's first time also in a library.
Interesting.
Senses the weird tension with that encounter, and then I was like, yeah, but I'll help you reach the tall books, man. It's whatever.
It's fine. We can
Ask about that later.
Yep,
that's maybe. I'll ask an earshot in the quiet library about who that was.
Yeah, definitely.
A few yards away. You begin to pour through books and assume all of the things I'm going to describe kind of happen in tandem when I make my way to different people in the party. But you begin to pour through a book. No, this doesn't seem right. Corruption affecting crops. People who eat from obviously corrupted nature, or if a corrupted thing is in a water supply, or if a corrupted thing kind of has rotted into the dirt. And you know that there was issues with the plants around Galunder, that you were having crops affected. It seems that that can cause sickness if you eat too often of like heavily corrupted waters and foods, because it's not incredibly easy for corruption to take, but it can rot things. It can make things less than healthy for the body to consume. As you make your way around, you also learn that this isn't as much of an issue currently, people getting sick from eating corrupted things. Sometimes, like, a corrupted animal will fall into a well, and that has caused issues in certain towns. But a lot of recent stuff, not much to be said, but there are speakings of issues in the communities that used to exist in the Valley of Odin. That while that area started corrupting heavily, before that people lived there, which you all know because you've been there and saw houses.
One tried to eat us.
It's true. But it seems that, like, there's documentation that their crops became inedible, were making people incredibly sick. They couldn't drink the water from that area. It was an area with an incredibly high amount of corruption. And that begins you sort of down this rabbit hole of illness. And you guys hop around and look for illness. And you end up in a section about curses. Here are the things you learn as you... Currently, Roshan has a pile of books, but they are neat and tidy, and Keld is there to kind of like pick things up and take them away and look at sections if Roshan points at them and says, continue looking at this while I look at this, as you push onwards.
Can do.
This is the Wikipedia portion of the game, so here we go. Enjoy! You start reading a book that was near the corruption section about curses. Curses normally affect the life and livelihood of the individual. Curses can be something inherited, acquired, gifted, or cultivated. Inherited means it is familial or follows a bloodline. Acquired means normally acquired on accident in an attempt to harness unfamiliar powers or through enchanted items. Gifted, a creature purposefully bestows a curse on another creature, place, or thing, normally bestowed in person. Can also be done across large distances. These curses are most easily removed by the being that placed them and cultivated, which is more of a modifier for the other types. These curses take time to reach their full potential or lie dormant until a specified time or trigger influences it. Some curses can be dispelled, as you know. Keld, you would know because you recently dispelled a curse. They can be dispelled from the individual or item that they inhabit by using divine magics, but some curses are too powerful to be affected through conventional means. An example being a book called The Curse of the Berserker, which this person notes the book and says, before a berserker has had their first transformation, the curse can be removed with divine magic, but after the spell has no lasting effect on the condition. See Beasts of the Blood by Rory Valison for more information on the Curse of the Berserker. So this seems to be a tangent one could go off on as you pile through books and books and books. Curses with staying power, ones that cannot be removed with remove curse, can be removed by rituals specifically crafted for the curse. Great magic practitioners can spend years, even lifetimes, perfecting the removal of curses. Other alternatives include divine intervention, magical intervention, or earthen intervention. Divine intervention is calling upon a deity to remove a curse. A deity may have the ability to speak with you as if bonded as some paladins and many clerics, but that does not mean they are close enough in space and time to directly affect you or your curse. Roshan, as you flip through this index, this person you found the textbook on curses, is kind of where you are currently, is this person who's just like, here's the bones, the dry bones. There's magical intervention, depends heavily on the power of the curse, where it is, and what it directly affects. The spells range from remove curse, dispel magic, greater restoration, and in dire situations, wish. When speaking with one subject whose eye had been cursed, the curse seemingly ended when the eye was removed from the body. Disclaimer from the author: not all curses can be cured by the edge of the blade or the flat of a hammer. Earthen intervention is the most commonly known form because of its reputation. These magics are expertised by people who pull old magics from the earth, usually referred to by more flowery or derogatory names. Example, medicine person, witch, or hag. Though many rural towns have a medicine person, this does not mean all are capable of curse removal. If one were to find a practitioner of this old magic, you may not always be dealing with a person. In some cases, these types of beings are the ones to bestow curses in the first place. Medicine persons are transactional in nature and do not normally react emotionally with pleas for help. Trades must equal what the curse takes, or eventually will take. Trade is part of the magic itself, a catalyst for change. This is dangerous means of curse removal and comes with adverse, sometimes intended, reactions. For a trusted guide, and it's sort of just like a bit of flowery writing at the end. For a trusted guide for identifying common or rare curses, seek out my colleague Barian Ritz' book, Enlightenment of Condemnation. And as you rub your eyes and get through this terrible large text, you can move on to Enlightenment of Condemnation, which seems to be more of a journal in quality, discussing types of curses that they have witnessed personally or talked to people about, involving facts and diagrams, like showing drawings of people and being like, this is what the curse did and this is where it was. You see as you go through, and it takes you some time as you go through this person's handwriting, you see the ossification curse. A subclass of curse that results in a variant of petrification, often but not always a curse of stone. Other reported forms include gem, metals, and ice. These curses are often gifted by powerful spellcasters, as this curse cannot be removed by conventional means or healing means. The ossification curse also falls in the classification of cultivation curse, as it takes time to fully engulf the body. In most reported instances of this curse, in text I have found, ossification is always fatal. Unlike a person who is petrified through other means, there is no spell to bring them back once they have fully changed, sans a powerful resurrection spell, of course. In one case, a man spoke of removing the offending limb to prevent the spread. He never returned to researchers for further comment. This is a cruel, slow-moving curse. The end is painful. Once fully engulfed, there's no remaining material from the victim. The statue will behave as its material normally would. Hag work in most cases. Powerful old magic that is hard to reverse. Hags use a curse like this for two reasons, in my opinion. The first is to cause suffering that leads to death, whether motivated by their own wants or someone else's. The second being the morbid hunt for decoration. A collection of ossified beings could be a powerful component for spells and a deterrent for wandering eyes. I don't often recommend hags for curse removal. Exhaust all options first. And as you kind of turn through a few pages, you see, and you can decide if you'd like to delve into this, as you just sort of skim through the rest of the book for if there's anything of note, you see curse of mental deterioration.
Yeah, I think Roshan would get stuck on that and not be able to look away.
Okay. This subclass of curse results in a variety of mental afflictions, usually worsening over time. A hard curse to spot because it can be confused for non-magical mental illness. This vein of curse usually requires physical touch to be contracted. Often a sigil can be found somewhere on the body. Falls into the gifted curse and cultivation curse categories. This curse is not hard in theory to cure. A remove curse spell could accomplish this, but the caster would have to know intimate details of the curse so they could identify the effects and the location of the sigil. Finding the one who applied the curse could be a way to answer all of the questions, if applicable. The downside of this curse is damage to the brain is not easy to heal, and even after the curse has been removed, the afflicted person lives with the consequences. This is what you find.
I think when Roshan reads that, he is silently brought to tears, and I don't know that he would look to anyone in the room, but quietly wipe his tears and put the book away.
Okay. And if so inclined, sitting somewhere on this table, I'm sure, is Beast of Blood, but that is not pressing. It was recommended reading by the man who loves to write textbooks about curses. Meanwhile, two rangers enter a library and make their way around, moving about the place.
It's basically like a forest. It's made out of the things a forest is made of. It's fine.
1 second. 1 moment. There we go. Nana, you feel like you're on the ball. Like,
Okay.
this is not your favored terrain, but boy howdy, are you just kind of winging it and it's sort of working out in your favor.
Okay. Don't know if this is beginner's luck, but all right, I'll take it.
And you start to go through different categories of books upon books upon books, which start to lead you down the line to different categories. You know, making your way through, of course, as you make your way into the category aligned with corruption. You see Dagwood, who is currently looking at a large book and not looking up, and you can see at a table within perfect view of Dagwood is Roshan and Keld looking at other books.
How hard is it to read the vibe?
Oh, it's not good. Everyone is quietly reading their books.
Nana will take Fen by the arm and keep us walking.
We don't
But you,
stop.
you know where something is.
Yes, probably. Come over here.
I imagine Keld's
All right.
ears are very droopy.
Little droopy ears. But you kind of pull around and sort of keep Fen on this side of a bookshelf as you begin to pull at books. All of you now in a relatively similar area, except Nyx. But eventually, you find a book with promising information in it. And that's where we're going to take our break. Yay!
Time sure
go get-
flies when you're in a library.
Boy, doesn't time fly when Jillian's reading you Wikipedia pages she wrote out herself.
Having fun isn't
Sure
hard
does.
when you've got a library card.
Isn't it fun to learn about curses that are affecting us all directly? Great.
Super fun!
We're all having a good time. So if you'd like to go get a snack and a drink, we're going to take a 10-minute break. So see you in a bit and see you in 10.
Thank you, Ted.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dice Code for episode 125. Yep, of On the Backs of Gods. We just took our 10-minute break. I hope you got a nice snack and drink. Everybody's at the library doing some research, doing it well. Everyone is doing well. That is currently what's happening. And also, the definitely not lingering issue of Dagwood also casually being at the library. Currently not interested in talking to any of you, but is that her choice? Maybe. Probably one of the best places to be, to avoid the consequences of your actions. But there has been some research, one of them being into down a rabbit hole that led to curses, giving a pretty close description of an ailment that Nyx currently has, an ossification curse, which will inevitably lead to the body being consumed and changing fully into that material, and then a curse of mental deterioration, which hits Roshan a bit hard, seeing as it is a possibility this could be related to a family member of his. This idea was also posed in Ave's journal, that he thought it might be a curse of some type, but hasn't found any proof of it. But he's also probably not strip searching your mom. So, good or bad.
Doesn't someone have to wash her, though?
No, she's
I'm sure.
confident enough to wash herself.
Yeah. And then on bad days, I'm sure somebody could.
Her. I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, she's
And
not
vegetation.
disabled. She's
just
a normal person who doesn't. She's like 50 first dates, except not going on dates every day.
Oh, that's very sad. Okay.
At least she
Alright,
doesn't have to deal with
understood.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah, thank God for that. There's at least that much mercy in this world.
I'm out of lead. Okay, no writing then.
No.
Oh, I'll write in hell. Just kidding, I found another one.
Perfect.
But the group of Nana and Fen, who are now actively avoiding Dagwood, it's to the best of their abilities, as they look through books upon books upon books upon books, looking for any word about this Wise One's parapet. Something catches your eye, Nana. And it is a tiny leather-bound journal. This is somebody's journal that was brought in or donated to the library. And this is a first-hand account of somebody dealing with the location that is the Wise One's parapet.
Oh, excellent.
You get comfortable, as it's sort of been like a half on your toes thing, because you're like, this book, inadequate, and you have to jump back up again. But you kind of settle down into these solid wooden chairs and begin to look through. And this is definitely more of like some person writing out their thoughts in the moment as you read through it, about their personal experience with the Wise One's parapet. It sits before the consuming presence of the trees, a step away from chaos and madness. Though cursed with hardships of its own, the parapet pales in comparison to the force of nature that is Eden. Man-made folly crumbling at the edge of a goddess's grasp. I remember Marvis noting as we approached, "It's lucky the heavens charred this tree with lightning, or I would never be able to locate the ruin reliably." I replied, "I hope it was a storm that smote the elm." Entering the parapet was no easy task. Once we had eyes on it, it was obviously guarded by traps, guards of stone. During our stay, we did not leave the main chamber in fear of being injured or worse. We could see the light of the drums from the stairwell, and did our best to learn what we could from that. Before the fall, there was a wall constructed to defend items of import to the gods. As the gods were busy fighting, protection fell to the ones who worshipped them. Man built a wall encompassing Mimir's well. The well consisted of guards, physical enchantments, and a power source called drums of the well, as they were born of the wisdom granted by the well itself. The drums kept the well sturdy, protected against physical or magical attacks, and were stored in multiple outposts around the wall. The wall was said to be, and I quote, visible to no man who stood under the blistering sun or waning moon. The drums are old magic, god-born magic, making them powerful and their purpose left to speculation. We assume Eden's fall caused the wall, outposts, and well to be lost to time. It is said, and I can now say equally, one outpost survived the fall because it was just south enough to avoid destruction. Unsure what made it invisible. It could be the drums, it could be something else. Researchers a long time ago tried to explore it, but were eviscerated by its defenses. It's hard to find, and, in my opinion, one of the more deadly landmarks, in no comparison to the forest that it stands guard in front of. Warnings were placed around the area. Stones reading, "Turn back, wisdom is not worth your life." This was a few hundred or so years ago when the last expedition went to study, though with the way the forest is growing, this section is added in a different handwriting.
Oh, so
This
more
section here.
updated information. Is
Yeah,
there
so-
any indication as to when it was added?
It seems newer. That's
Okay.
the best I can give you on that.
That's fine.
This was a few hundred years ago or so when the last expedition went to study. Though with the way the forest is growing, it may consume the parapet one day soon. The proximity of the forest makes it a dangerous site to visit. Creatures have been known to wander from the wood's borders, but that is rare. As long as the woods are avoided, the parapet can be observed from a distance safely. You learn by drawing in this journal the location, vaguely, a man's drawing of where the parapet is. It seems to be located located north and a bit west of where the library is. It is literally at the edge of the Forest of Eden. Smack dab at the edge.
At least as of the point when this was added.
Yes.
Who knows how long ago that is or how much the forest has grown since, but we have an estimate.
Mm-hmm.
This is better than anything I could have hoped for.
Nana, do you think Roshan might be able to help us ascertain when this was written?
I'm not certain. Fen, one moment. I don't think we should intrude where Roshan is right now. I saw Dagwood. The air in there you could have cut with your kukri. Do not go in there right now, please. If we are going to maintain civility, as we are meant to...
You saw
think it-
Dagwood.
Yes.
Dagwood.
Yes, yes. She
We
was
need to
really-
get her out of here.
She seemed set in place, and she did not seem keen on interacting at all with Roshan. And I do not think any one of us could persuade her otherwise based on her last message to us. I beg of you, Fen, let's just leave this for now. We can try something later, where we are not expected to maintain no ripples, you see.
She's a friend to us, and if we can get her out of here, if she's being held against her will. I understand. I understand the rules. I do.
And I understand where you're coming from. I want her free of whatever influences influencing her, if there is anything besides her own will. As it is. For right now. Let's just stay our hand and find a good vantage point, okay?
All right. Well, we're here in the forest of knowledge. This is... Look around. There's information everywhere. What else can we find? The Forest of Eden. Should we look there next? Look for those details about that. What creatures might abound there? What maps maybe.
Any information about how fast the forest has been seen to grow? If it's been escalating recently, perhaps we can find that out. Or if it's been steady for a long time, perhaps we can estimate how far out it's grown over where the parapet is. We can only hope it hasn't reached it, but we can't guarantee.
Anything that can help us approach without incident. I just want to get in there and do what we need to do, and
Get us all out alive, right?
Yeah, first and foremost, but well, secondary, honestly, to stopping what's about to happen, if it's going to happen in Jarlsbecker or nearby.
I'd rather we all get out of this alive and.
I agree, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, agreed.
We need all of us for what's coming. This is only
maps.
One step.
Let's find maps.
Yeah. Let's go. More
And
about the
and
Forest
any
of Eden and
information
anything
about
else.
what easy ways in, easy ways out. This can't have been the only person to have gone there and come back.
Maybe in more recent times, maybe they would have some information about the area.
Where's Nyx off to?
She seemed very content with her own direction. I'm not quite certain.
I understand. She's just she knows nature better than most of us, and better than either you or I. We're going to walk into a forest of a dead goddess, then maybe she's the one we'd want to have along and to offer.
I don't disagree with you, honestly.
Sorry.
I mean, let's see if she happens to have found anything about it as she's been looking through the shelves. You know, if she's found something specific, wonderful, and we can take off from there.
Note to the GM: she can literally talk to trees. We're talking about an orchard.
Well, if you would like to go, if you'd like to go talk to one of the trees of the Forest of Eden, you are welcome to go touch one with your hand and see how it goes.
That sounds dangerous.
I love it. I'll go.
I'm in. Nyx is already in.
Fen has a very fleeting understanding of what Nyx's powers entail.
Yeah.
But as far as he's aware, she's much better at nature shit than he is.
But I would like to be, I'm of the opinion that if I said it before, you probably know it. You know that the Forest of Eden has been aggressively growing. The second to the Jarl had to hire a bunch of people to go there and cut down trees at a rapid pace, trying to keep up with the forest. You know that this thing has been going haywire since corruption increased aggressively in the area. However that may have happened. You also read in the newer handwriting, this was a few hundred years ago or so when the last expedition went to study.
Yeah. So it's like X number of 100 years ago, and then plus however long since this last addition to this note, to this journal.
Though the way the forest is growing, it may consume the parapet one day. So we can assume that it is at least visible growth, but that would have been observable over time. But this is newer handwriting.
Yeah.
The handwriting, she's so newer looking visually,
Shiny.
less faded. It's very shiny handwriting.
So not in Goblin Shakespeare.
It is not.
It is not Goblin Shakespeare now.
Not yet. Meanwhile, hey Nyx, what's it like? How are you doing?
I think she's trying to help mop up the water as she's walking. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
kind of going.
Yeah. You're doing your best, which is the best you can do, really.
I haven't even found a single book yet to ask somebody to take off a shelf.
Yeah. You
It's
keep
really the
approaching
sign.
books, reading the titles and being like, I don't understand how this will help me in any way. And then realizing some book titles aren't helpful. And you're like, well, should I go back to those books that I said no to? And then you go back and you kind of look at them like, but which one do I take off the shelf first? And do I ask this nice lady? And you're just watching your friends sort of in the distance, like, pick up books and walk away and come back and pick up books and walk away. Like, just a constant kind of moving, well-oiled machine. And you are kind of...
Seems a lot easier for them.
Yeah. You seem stuck. And it takes you a hot minute to pick a spot to start. Because how would you even know where to begin as you begin to look at books about nature? And you read about canopies. You know what a canopy is, so that's great. You have that going for you. You read about some of them are incredibly thick, can block out the sun. You never know. Some plants can grow beneath them, some can't. You learn some facts about a canopy, which you're like, yeah, all of these track. Like, all of this makes sense to me. And the woman who's been following you, after a while, kind of steps up and hands you a new towel. What are you looking for?
Something called the baldaquin or the canopy. It's both. I'm not sure. So I thought nature, because canopies, you know.
That is a valid direction to go in, as a canopy is often seen in nature. But it could be a man-made construct. The baldaquin.
Instantly just devastated.
Oh no.
Oh, God.
The whole library.
Man-made.
Oh, honey.
How about I assist?
If you can. Even just one book to have open would be fantastic.
The thing is, it is maddening to be informed of a topic and not have my own answers.
Oh.
So I will assist until I know what the baldaquin is. And
Well,
begins
damn, you got
to...
professional curiosity on your side.
to lead you around the place. The only difference you see between her and your friends, besides like this unwavering confidence walking around this library, is she does not once go to look at the tome that speaks of the organization of the books. There's no stop in the middle to go there to like flip through and see where things are.
She got it on lock.
Yeah. By the look of her, has she ever been outside? It's very unclear. But you begin to make your way, following around this woman. She pulls out a book, and then she like looks like she's like about to hand it to you, and then's like, I'll set it down on our table and we can start from there. And begins to just put some books up on your table. As she leads you around going through books, eventually you end up in the same section for a moment as your friends, as they are all nose deep in books currently. And you see a woman you recognize from your scrying. You see Dagwood.
Is she still pulling books for us at our table?
This woman's still helping you, yes.
Okay. Since I'm not allowed to touch the books anyway, I'm gonna go sit next to Dagwood.
She closes the book that she is currently looking at, and roll perception for me real quick. See if she's gotten any better at this. Not really.
Hey, this is a fantastic roll compared to the last one. 25.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
was hoping you weren't just being facetious.
No, much better.
Oh, excellent.
You see a folio of handwritten notes that she kind of like fans back into its folder and pushes under this large tome she's looking at. Do I know you?
Try to remember. No, I didn't talk to you. I just saw you.
All right.
So, are you kidnapped still? Are we supposed to help you, or are you good? Because they're just sitting there.
God bless Nyx.
I'm good.
And
Are you sure?
this is the thing that you wanted to do, that you were excited about.
Yes.
That's great. Wonderful. But the piece of paper that you were supposed to give them, is that with your friend, or do you have that and I can take that over to them? Or maybe you should, because if I touch paper, it'll get ruined. Just shows her wet hands.
I think I am going to return to the boundary I have set.
There's a boundary.
I'm not interested in conversing with your companions, and now I guess by proxy you.
It's your choice.
Usually is.
Mm-hmm. So you don't want to be unkidnapped. I just want to double check.
I am as content as I've ever been.
Stockholm syndrome.
They got her.
I'll let you go back to reading your secret piece of paper under your book.
Fantastic, and you can go back to whatever it is you are researching.
I have no idea.
Enjoy. And waits for you to walk away before opening her book again.
Leave a towel there so if she wants to clean up any of the water, you know.
Yeah. Just in
On her
case.
books.
By this point, we're looking at hours that have passed, boys. Hours. It is, if there were windows, probably getting a little dark outside. By the time, Nyx, you find a book of interest, and by you, I mean the woman who has been escorting you around the library.
Great.
By this point, your friends have read a giant tome of curses and a smaller journal documenting curses, and gone through book upon book to find this parapet, and are now trying to find information on the forest as they go and dig through books. Boy, howdy, you have found a book. An old book in a section concerning the fall. This is the end of a large portion of the pantheon of gods and goddesses that your people would have worshipped. This is what, in some people's opinions, and understandably so, is the reason that corruption began, is after this fall. And you find, I'm always going to do you with a little question mark, you find,
I found it for sure.
she currently, she flips through pages very quickly. She stops on a section, turns the little book holder towards you, hands you the little pointer, and is going to let you be in charge of flipping the pages, so it's not at her pace.
Oh, kind.
Thanks.
She's gonna be in so much pain.
Staring. If you could see her eyes, you could read any facial expression. this is what you learn about the Baldekin as you find this book. And she seems excited to have found this book. And she's like, I haven't seen any others with this information. We can keep looking now that I know what I'm looking for. But the Baldekin is an unconfirmed, though popular in some academic and religious circles, theory of an event that occurred after the fall of the gods. This theory states that once the war ended, the world tree Yggdrasil could not support the weight of the worlds after the damage it sustained, and without a full pantheon to attend to it, the tree's branches fell catastrophically. Catastrophically, that's a better word. The theorized explosion of Yggdrasil caused more damage and loss of life, adding to the toll the war took. The idea is the worlds collided into one, where every, or nearly every, plane that existed fell from the tree and was added to the chaos of Midgard. This idea is supported by the existence of Hell on Earth, the inclusion of all species on Midgard, and the eyewitness testimony from those who have shifted planes stating they never left Midgard, only saw it through different lenses. The Baldekin is also referred to as the death of Yggdrasil, or the death of the world. Oh, good to know. She stands up.
She's probably still just halfway through the page. She's just gone.
As she walks off, fully content and done with talking to people, she walks off. There is sort of a lull in this moment as people have gathered a good sum of information. People are kind of sitting on info. What did you guys want to do, as you know that the sun, at this point, she has set? None of the librarians, if we'd like to call them that, seem to be leaving. Dagwood does not seem to be leaving. And nobody is, like, casually turning on loud music to try and get you to leave.
Closing time.
And that's all we can afford.
Sweeping right next to you. Yeah, no. Please go. Is there anything you guys would like to do sort of in this lull moment?
Kild's gonna want to find Nyx at least.
Right there.
We can regroup.
I'll have everyone read the passage in the book.
Yeah,
Everyone
nice.
read this little passage.
Just this part so you know what it is.
Sure. No, that's good. And we can share what we've learned about the parapet and the Forest of Idun.
After Nyx shares that about the Baldekin, I think Roshan pipes up and says, we've been thinking of the Baldekin as a place, a canopy, but I think it's an event. I think it's an event that Bosch wants to bring to bear.
New Ragnarok.
That makes sense.
It's fan fiction. This has not happened yet. This is Yggdrasil is strong. Yggdrasil still holds up the realms. This is not something that's happened. We need to stop it from happening if someone wants it to. But to think that Yggdrasil would need someone to tend to her, that's nonsense. She's strong.
Well,
she's as strong as she's ever been, and she's the strongest thing that could be. Literally holds up the gods.
If she does that, then how do you explain where Tall came from?
From across the sea. We've been on the sea. It's boats. That's what boats are for. It doesn't require a limb to fall from the world tree to bring coal to us. That's nonsense.
And what if there's a weakness in her that we can't see, like something in the roots?
What if someone's trying to plant something there? Or what if the corruption has seeped down from the corpses of the gods which the limbs of the tree hold up?
There's so much in the soil.
I don't know, Fen. I do not want to disparage your faith. I want the world tree to be fine. We must consider worst case.
The world tree is fine. We'll make sure the world tree stays fine. It's fine. Anyone that would corrupt the world tree is... It's folly for them to think so, but we'll slay them outright if they tried. That's all. This is a thing that's
it's
not
an
yet
incredibly
come to pass.
popular theory you hear from a table over. The Baldecan, the death of the world tree. A popular one.
How popular, may we ask?
She kind of like smirks to herself, like, damn. Like
I'm
like
the sister of the guy you love, damn it! That's
Like-
gotta count for something!
the fact that she like is almost shocked she said something. It's like, ah, shit. Kind of like almost like,
Damn
there
it,
I
caught
go.
myself. Being a
My
help,
mouth.
I can't
Doing the opposite of
stand
what
it.
I say.
Terrible.
The Baldecan, a popular theory, mostly around those who do researches into the fall, or people that have traveled planes, people that want to explain the world they are witnessing. I would not be shocked if it were more than a theory.
And where does that leave your serpent, if it's more than a theory?
Well,
By the way, I've missed you.
that's appreciated. It seems like a genuine smile.
Oh.
Where does it leave Jormungandr? Well, if he still exists, then he is here somewhere, because there is no other plane to hide in, somewhere deep in the water. So, an encouraging theory for me and a saddening theory for others.
But isn't he meant to eat our realm? How does he eat our realm if it's combined with every other that's fallen from the world tree? It just...
I suppose that would make it easier. Like a little sandwich.
Well, I've seen serpents. I've seen serpents here in our realm. And they can't eat anything more than about their width.
I suppose it's just a theory then.
Where's Morden?
I sent him out for a walk. It's getting stuffy in here.
Outside the library.
Well, yes, I sent him to the circle and I said, go enjoy yourself.
What's the circle?
Oh, like she's like, was waiting for somebody to go like, haha, but nobody went haha. The circle. There's a teleportation circle to get to the library.
So what?
I mean, you have to know the sigils upon it, and then you're able to travel to it, so it is not the most well-known thing, but I sent him to the circle. I said, go where you like, and I can only assume he's not just meandering outside. I should hope not.
He's doing well then?
It's been rough. We're both homebodies. It's so hard not to talk to all of you. You're incredibly cute. Especially going about your books and your readings.
I think Roshan stands up and goes to books about flowers.
Lack of phasing in the face.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I can only assume that I've hurt his feeling, and the thing is, I often hurt people's feelings, so it's I was about to say duck off a water's back. Am I right, boys?
Am I right, boys?
Water
She's
off a
been
duck's
looking at these
back.
books way too long.
Her
All the
eyes
words are
slowly begin to cross. I mean, there are like bits of red in her eyes. She has been here a
Yeah.
hot minute.
Yeah. Is there any assistance we could render you?
I think.
We do owe you that much.
At least.
The most I can give you is to stay out of my way. Ave failed in what he was doing. I don't plan to fail.
I know that lots of you have your secrets, and I have to ask, Dagwood, what on earth was he doing? I'm sure Roshan already knows, and he won't say it. He keeps things from us. Dagwood, what was Ave doing that you won't fail at?
Well, that's a shame that your friend won't share information with you then. That
I
seems
thought
like
you were
a
our friend
better
too.
resource. I don't hold friendship as high as some others might. I am not going to discuss what I am working on. I am not going to discuss your brother's work. If he did not inform you, then I don't think I should be the one to say.
But what if we could succeed? It's hubris, I know, but what if we could?
What if? Do you think you could do it better than me?
No,
Do you find yourself more skilled than me?
of course not. I just want your help.
In some ways, yes, and in other ways, you're more skilled than us, but if we work together, then that makes us each stronger. In
No,
some ways,
thank you.
Right.
This is why silence is easier. People are less offended by it.
No, I
Fenn's gonna
prefer
get
to
up
know
and
where I
go.
stand, that's all.
Fenn's gonna get up and go help Roshan with whatever Roshan wants help with. He's fed up with this at this point too.
Nana stands and leaves. She'll find somebody to help. Or she'll go looking for something herself.
Keld sticks behind for a minute and asks, "Are we working towards a similar thing?"
The goal is always, at least in these pursuits, is the betterment of humanity. Currently, that is my goal. Do I expect it to at some point be eaten by a large serpent? I do. But until then.
He'll turn to Nyx, if she was there.
Oh, yeah. I lost my helper, so
Oh yeah.
We can help, surely.
Yeah.
Somebody of us.
Did you find anything?
Just the one, but
It was still very helpful.
Nana, you walked off, correct?
Oh, I did.
Keldon,
Not
Nix,
sure.
have you left yet?
I think
Not
we're
yet.
Yeah,
standing
yeah, you
right
guys are
Never
still
mind
there.
then. I'm not
We're
there.
just being a nuisance.
It's fine.
not understanding social niceties.
Yeah. She glances over.
Friggin' rubes.
Once again, this is going to sound a bit, doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt my feelings either way. Why are you looking into the Baldecan?
I don't know
Where to begin?
It's a long story.
We're trying to find someone who's very interested in this Baldecan. Or I guess...
He's having all his cultists meet at it, I guess.
We're still trying to understand.
Well, based on what we know, one could probably not meet at a Baldecan, for it is not a place, it is an event. But I suppose, as you all were discussing, that one could create, and in my opinion, recreate a Baldecan. The explosion of a great tree. Because I don't believe there is a Yggdrasil to explode. She says a bit softer.
I don't know. Should we just show her the note, Kel? It'd probably be easier. Just have
True.
I'm
context.
happy to assist you on your endeavor as long as you don't poke into mine.
Sure.
We have no wish to. Yet.
Assuming Kel has the note, so it's not ruined.
Yeah.
You hand
Not
the note to
soggy.
Dagwood. You all can see that they're having a full conversation with Dagwood, who just seems to be like, oh, it's so nice to talk to you, like visually on the face, like, sure, I'm having a great time.
Everyone's stewing.
She's such a liar.
What a nice little note.
Fake.
Let's see.
Nana is nursing a bit of a emotional bruise there, I think.
So this involves the guard. Interesting. That would have been my guess
You
when
know
you
of
said
him?
cultists. Everyone knows of the guard. I don't believe in a man-made orchestration of the end of days. I do not believe that is ours to choose. So, personally not a fan of someone who thinks that they are bold enough to decide when that should be. So, personally not the cult I would join if I were so emboldened to be part of a cult. Gone off together. Wise One's Parapet. May I see your book that explains the Wise One's Parapet, please?
Oh. Yes.
Thank you. Looks at that for a moment. Needing a new moon. Let's see. Well, that's a better roll. Okay. Speaks fondly. He says we will converge here when the earth craves rot and is at its hungriest. Interesting. So at some point in time, assumedly using some artifacts, perhaps, have there been any others discussed? These pretty things?
One that amplified magic? We didn't see it.
I see. This is very fun. I love research, but I have been a bit bored out of my skull, so it is nice to pivot for a moment. A quick break, if you will. Gathering.
Yeah, we're not sure what else they're trying to gather.
That's all right. That's all right. If I were gathering things, and I were converging them in one place at a particular time, when it seems the earth is at its hungriest, unclear at my first thought on when that may be. I'll ponder it. It seems you take these things and you have a Baldecan situation. These things are acquired to amplify, so make a spell or ritual stronger. Something from the Wise One's parapet, needing a new moon. I'm not trained very intensively on the Wise One's parapet.
Apparently, whatever we're looking for can't be viewed if there is a moon or a sun. So maybe the full moon is the one time something becomes visible.
So on the new moon, this place becomes visible to the eye, making it available for this person. Just figure it out without it. So I'm assuming you're going to go in there and take what is neither yours nor theirs.
Something like that.
Possible. I don't know if we really need to take it, but most just need to deal
Completely
with
up
the
to you.
people going to take it.
That's true. And also take into regard that if one person goes to take it and doesn't come back and you're a brainwashed cultist, somebody else will go and get it.
Good point.
I guess we're
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Be careful touching old artifacts. Just a word of warning to new friends. I don't know either of you by name.
I'm Nyx.
Killed.
I
What was
see.
your name?
I'm Dagwood. As you can
What?
see, I have rubbed your friends the wrong way. And I'm not shocked by it, I'll say.
Why wouldn't we touch old artifacts?
Hmm?
What, you said don't touch.
Well, sometimes they are so powerful they could eviscerate you on the spot. Sometimes they are riddled with defects, which could lead to curses. Lay your hands atop it, curse. So I would just be careful when interacting. Or even destroying, because could be quite the sight. I personally would love to see you prevent a second Baldecan. So, good luck on that.
Thanks.
I'm gonna turn to
need
Kel.
some
Did you
luck.
guys find anything, you and Roshan, in those other books?
Oh, yes.
'Cause I'm assuming we're
Actually.
talking about it near the other two, because they don't know.
I think we found some definitive stuff, but also now I just have more questions. I can fill
Yeah,
you in.
I think when we were sharing knowledge, Roshan would have left the books open to the pertinent sections, so they're probably just laying out on the table next to you.
Oh, great. She's gonna go spend a really long time reading that paragraph.
Yeah. Ossification curse. Ends in death. Slow, painful. Over and over and over and over and over.
Who would do that? What if it's the lurk?
But we never saw her.
True. I
So-
still get just thinking about it.
I guess maybe it happened before. If it lasts a really long time, like if it was dormant, like what it says here, maybe that happened before you found me.
Yeah. That's why I have more questions now. What happened to you before then?
And we could look for books on the lurk, or maybe something about memories, getting them back.
Did Ember seem to know a little something about your past? Or your...
She thinks that I might be from, like, the melted water on the mountains.
That's what it was.
We live near them, so maybe.
Maybe we could look that up too.
We're gonna be here a really long time, aren't we? God.
We can get Rashawn to help.
Okay. The group reconvenes. You are going to start pushing into exhaustion territory.
Oh boy.
It is now the night. You may push
God.
through the night if so inclined.
Is that wise?
Someone needs to sleep if we want to go back. So
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we could
just
break and we can
go
do
out-
shifts.
Go outside and pitch a tent, and try again in the morning. There's always that.
True.
True. What do you all think? Should we give it a rest so that we can keep at this well
I
tomorrow,
mean,
maybe?
we are
think
here
we could
surprisingly quickly. Like, we're here much faster than I thought we could possibly be. We've made so much time. I think we can spend the night. That's my opinion.
We've got almost a week before we need to be where we're going to have to be. So, you know, I think that we can afford one night overnight, and perhaps instead of taking watches, perhaps we can take periods of extra research.
There's that, and
It's an idea.
I'd be fine sleeping in a tent as well. We don't have to restrain Roshan to confine the confines of a bubble.
we don't have to. We have the ring in the bag. He could put a bubble into the bag, into the ring, and I could do it since I need to sleep.
It's a good point.
Not a terrible idea. That's actually a very good idea. Yep.
What do you think, Roshan?
Sure.
Would you be alright with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And naturally, you don't have to go in and research if you don't feel like it, but you're free to if you want.
I think I'll use this as a resource while I have it.
Very understandable, of course.
Right. How are we going about this? Roshan?
I think we were going to collect the bag from the front desk lady
Mm-hmm.
and
And Nyx can keep that.
go outside, and then Roshan will cast Tiny Hut into the ring, just using a regular spell slot, so it's very quick this time, only one stanza, and hands it off to Nyx, and then he'll head back inside.
All right.
We'll find a good spot for our bubble.
Yes.
Hey, Nix, what does
Get
the
your
bubble look
out
like?
front.
God, this bubble looks terrifying, guys.
Oh God!
What?
It
Blend in
looks
who?
Spooky, like
Yeah, she's got that same really spooky dead moss look that's just Like all of her magic.
Oh, honey.
Feels at home.
Interesting aesthetic. But I knew younger folk when I was growing up who were very into this sort of thing.
All right.
It's like
All
that
of you
Spanish
seem to
moss.
be aiming for a long rest except Roshan. Is that what I'm hearing?
Does Roshan need to sleep?
There's a boar standing guard outside the bubble.
Hooray! Yep.
There's just a boar. He's vibing.
Good for him.
Good for him.
And
More interesting than he sounds like.
Roshan, you've gone back into the library. The rest of your friends outside. And the thing is, you feel physically tired. This is draining. This is not easy, light work you are doing. So you will take a level of exhaustion if you continue.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I wasn't going to
currently-
sleep anyway, so
Why not perish with it
Yes.
instead? Why not suffer a little bit for my art, you know? You head back inside. It is now you, the occasional librarian that walks by, and Dagwood, who seems to not be leaving.
I think Roshan, he's kind of scrapped looking for information on shadows and his own tattoos. So I think he's going to go to a different section and start on Nana's flowers.
Okay.
And I think he wants to approach it more from the angle of, because she saw them in Ave's blood, right? So he'd start from the angle of Gulvag, but then broaden to anything he can find with flowers and blood.
Neat. You look up first Gulvag, who does not in the books you read through. You almost got me monologuing. Give me an investigation check. Ew.
Ooh, bad. Investigation. I got an 8.
Okay. I mean, it's just going to take time. You know this is
Yeah.
going to take a hot minute. Reading about Gulvag, nothing stands out to you in the references to, like, nature. That doesn't seem to be her bag, and there's not, like, some gods do have flower association. You're not reading anything specific for Gulvag that fits into that category. You read through her story, which you are accustomed to, of how she was one of the firsts to attempt bonding in times of violence with another sect of gods when the gods were split. And when she went, she was met with suspicion, and she was bound and attacked, stabbed thrice with spears, and burned thrice. Though when she came back again to continue trying to mend this bridge, even though she was attacked, on the third time, fear began to grow in the other group of gods, and worry of this woman full of so much magic that she could not be felled, and peace talks were viable at that point, realizing that their current quarry could not be felled. And also a theory, it is said each time she was burned or pricked, her ashes and blood fell to the earths, granting magic to the people, which it seems many gods were not fond of, that she was just casually giving out her magic in this way. A known blessing of Gulvag is Ave Hemmingson. Ave's name stands out to you written in a book before you. a chief who led the community of Galunder for 20-odd years, and in newer ink, until his recent death, where a seemingly rushed funeral was held. For if the word had spread of his falling, the funeral would have been great in size, as his wedding, if not greater. His role of chief was filled by his widow, Hertha Lonsdottir. He was said to bear marks of where her magic burned his skin upon birth, blessing him with her light. Ave led his community as a spiritual leader as well as chief. He is noted for his efforts in ending the conflict in the West when he took upon the title of chief after his father Hemming passed. Praised for his conflict resolution skills, he is considered a large contributor to peace of his time and the time in the West in this moment of being under the rule of one Jarl, who is then under the rule of the king. He is also credited for assisting in the design of the blockers at the edge of the valley, stones which for some time may have held corruption at bay. These stones still line the edge of the forbidden lands of the valley. And you got to see those on your entrance to the valley, these stone pillars covered in runes. But just a little note in the Golveg section of books. Ave's made it into the textbooks.
Yeah, I think Roshan reads that expecting to see Ave, but not expecting notes about his death, because that was only a handful of months ago that became public. So they're pretty quick here.
Pretty quick here at the library. Real fast. You got to get the info in the books. Or how will we remember?
Good point.
But you continue through books. At one point, you are directed to, like, a book of flowers and find Jack Diddley in Book of Flowers. Like, literally nothing. Like, books that are flowers in this book that seem similar, but do not fit the criteria. You would know, and as your companions would know because you've experienced it, stories of corrupted things having plants grow from them. You've witnessed this on multiple occasions, including Ave's blood, including creatures you have seen that are of flesh and plant combined into one. You read of a record of a person wandering a field for an undetermined amount of time, dragging a patch of grass with them like a train from their head. This corrupted being walking there for an undetermined amount of time, and after it was felled and examined, you could see that on the grass there were new growths found on this patch of earth that did not match the season in which it was felled. And the grass was still alive and had grown longer and speckled with flowers. The roots healthy, a thriving ecosystem that this corrupted being dragged with it through fields for an undetermined amount of time. You are eventually directed to a book, The Waning and Gone. This is a book of the plants that went extinct or are feared to and have been logged here just in case. You find a flower that catches your attention. Lord's Lure. Small white flowers known for their unassuming appearance that leads people to eat it and fall ill from the toxins. This plant went extinct after the fall. There's no way any of you at any other point in your life, besides viewing Ave's blood, according to this book, would have seen these flowers. They exist nowhere else. And you would have known nothing about them. Anything one thought or felt about them would have been constructed from their own psyche. And dwelling on it, Roshan, go ahead and give me insight with advantage as you've known Nana for all of her life and are currently traveling with her.
27.
It is so nice to be able to look at something with certainty. That was something you got to see with Saga. Premonition. Understanding. Foresight. Nana has never demonstrated any of this ability. She does not follow a god, and does not possess that type of power. If you saw flowers in the blood of your brother, you would think them monstrous and vile and poison. That is what your visceral reaction would be to it. Disgust. On a personal level, as you have lost someone dear in this moment. Seeing these flowers in one's dreams would not be shocking because they are tied to a traumatic event. They are a manifestation of trauma. Could they be some sort of magical inclination of what is to come? Perhaps. Could it be somebody suffering who is manifesting in dreams horrible visions of the future because they can imagine them, because they have seen these flowers birthed from corruption and associate them with other moments of corruption and trauma, including Bosch. You think that, sadly, there's nothing to be gleaned from these flowers except that somebody is struggling. And that takes you like 5 hours to do.
Love it. Love to find the answer about trauma in a book about nature.
You're like, ooh, cool book. Oh.
Actually.
But you get to see a bunch of cool extinct flowers. And during this time, of course, as you're making your way around, Dagwood is still exactly where she was. You still have a few more hours as your friends rest. Is there anything else you wanted to do?
I think Roshan's next order of business is books about trapping ghosts, or killing them, or dealing with them, and getting them out of people.
Depossession.
Depossession.
Oh, if you'd be so kind to go ahead and give me investigation as you move on to another topic.
21.
Ooh.
It's a good
Finally, a
callback
decent
to
roll
old ass
on
business.
Yeah.
Library boy.
Roshan is slowly fading. You can feel exhaustion on the horizon. But you push on. And there is one moment where you're going through books and you see Dagwood stand up. And she stretches and then sits back down. Not leaving the table.
Just like Peter did behind you.
So,
Peter!
I think for the rest of the night, if there is, Roshan would have left Dagwood alone in that room and tried not to think of her.
Okay. You?
Do you mind, Jillian?
Sure.
Fen long rests in 4 hours. He would have absolutely made himself a resource to Roshan. Probably bring him a cup of tea to help him, be comfortable and stay awake, even though he doesn't need to sleep. But also, yeah, he would just help Roshan, and Fen has no other obligations other than to dust the snow off of the bubble before it bursts in the morning. So, like, he's at Roshan's disposal.
Sure, you are of assist. You see that he is currently looking for books, and you can catch on. It is about ghosts. You can catch on by title.
If they're about elven ghosts, he speaks Elvish and Sylvan, so...
Yeah, that might be helpful, because Roshan doesn't speak Elvish. Like a fool.
Well, currently, we're just looking into how to wreck a ghost. So, we'll start there. It takes time. You make your way around. Honestly, of the topics you have kind of been looking at, this is one of the easier ones to find, at least. Because the topic is ghost. The topic subcategory is the dispelling of ghosts. Like, it's easier than, I have no idea what the Baldachin is, and I'm gonna find out in this library I've never been to. You know, it's a little bit easier. You find some usual stuff you would assume. Divine powers, discussions of turning and destroying undead, and how those can be used against those no longer living. And then you find, after going down a ghost-centric rabbit hole, ghosts warded against turning while inhabiting a mortal form. Beings in this state could be affected by the hallowed ground, but they may just be denied entry instead of being expunged from the form, and the ghost will remain within the flesh. Consideration of containment, a reverse hallow, and a diagram of a reverse hallow is provided. What this person thinks would work as a reversed hallow.
Caliente.
A difficult feat to partially complete a ritual, get somebody to enter said ritual space, and then finish the ritual. This spell will not force the ghost from the body. Another option being removing the barrier, that being the mortal form. Killing the body will force the ghost out, making it vulnerable but prone to fleeing or finding a new body. Convincing the ghost to leave willingly is also an option. This would be the one remaining option to preserve the life of the body. A cleric of hell once attempted what she referred to as ghost gloves, and you begin to read into this topic of ghost gloves, which is a technique of reaching into the ethereal and removing the ghost that way. She says, though in her attempt, she slipped out of the ethereal and ended up killing the body when her arm manifested inside of it.
Nice. I think Roshan would, not having his journal, would take notes on this and on ghost gloves and try and recall anything that might have been of help from... Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Did he watch Nana get...
You didn't, is the thing. But you heard about it. Okay. You would have been informed about it.
Anything that he can remember about that and combining knowledge. Maybe there was something wrong with her ghost gloves and this weird old lady in the woods could do it better.
Yeah. You know that Saga, and Saga, the only one really present, canon, Saga has the notes about the components for the ritual.
That's right.
Nobody else does.
Well, I guess they're never getting out.
Ha! Sucks to suck. I mean... Hey, what's up, guys? I mean, you know, It is what it is. Based on what you have experienced, the worms were removed. Your only instance of the worms weren't removed is Bosch saying the worms weren't removed. So, toss up.
Yeah.
Trust that guy.
Yeah, I think that's all Roshan has time for before
Yeah.
the next day begins.
And the sun, she does rise. And Fen, could you go ahead and roll me survival real quick?
13.
You remember at the last second as you jog out those doors and wipe the snow from the top of the bubble right before it pops in the morning. All of you awake, having had a long rest, and Roshan,
MVP.
you now have a level of exhaustion.
Oh, buddy.
And as the rest of you rouse and behold the outside of this beautiful, infuriating, and drama-filled library, you know that your friend is still currently inside, and you have officially gone one day of research without anyone getting banned. And that is where we will stop for tonight.
Stop on a success.
Not banned yet.
Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. We love telling you guys a story. Thank you for coming to my Wikipedia reading, where I wrote the Wikipedia pages and then read them for the people.
Hooray! That's going in the world, Anvil, right?
I'm just going to put it in the notes for
That's
now,
fair.
for ease.
That's fine.
I will be providing every note I said, just so you guys
Hell
know.
yeah.
That's only fair.
Thank you.
Josh kicks himself in the ass after typing furiously all episode.
Yeah, it's like the cliff
Doesn't
notes.
hurt.
If you're just doing a quick look, but if you need the big look. Here at the Dice Cult, we do stuff and we do things crazy. If you head over to youtube.com/the Dice Cult, you can watch all past episodes of On the Backs of Gods. Maybe some of these topics will make sense to you, as some interesting things have been brought to light and casually mentioned in this episode, which is fun for me, and you won't find some of that in older episodes. But what's the hurt? What's the hurt? You can watch our other D&D adventures over there. You can watch one-shots, Vampire the Masquerade, whatever you're looking for. We have a little Call of Cthulhu, if I remember.
From way back when.
Back in the day. If you're interested in just more of a kind of like a multi-shot, I would say. That's what I'd call it. But if you'd like to keep up with us, we are at Backs of Gods on Instagram and Twitter. If you'd like to keep up with all of us, we are at The Dice Cult on Instagram and Twitter. Katie's great, makes cool dice. I know that Katie will put the thing in the thing.
I'll put it in the link.
Yeah, put the thing in the thing, Katie. The people requested.
They need it, Katie, so that they can be actionable.
But thank you again. We really appreciate it. We love getting to tell you guys a story. And it's fun to bring back some old characters to piss everyone off. We'll be here same time, same place, Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll see you guys then. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for joining us, cultists.
Night, everyone.